Hey everyone, thank you for joining me tonight as we discuss the 1619 project where we'll be discussing chapters 12 through 15. I know last Friday was supposed to be a discussion, but things happened, so I had to reschedule it for this Friday. And so for these chapters, we're going to be discussing medicine, the church, music, and also healthcare. Those are the four chapters that we'll be covering tonight. I feel like with the medicine and the healthcare, I feel like they are pretty much one and the same. They're intertwined. Um, of course, as we have been reading this together, there has nothing happy about it. It really makes you mad. It pisses you off. It has you think about America and the world we live in. Hey, Jira. I hope you're having a great day. But for medicine and healthcare, I found these very interesting chapters. So that's chapter 12 and chapter 15. Like I said, I feel like they intertwine together. And it's sad how today we're still going through this. It's like a circle, a revolving circle that nothing is being done. There's some things that I already knew, but it was nice to have it in a book, and for people that are reading it, I think it's also informational. Like this is on page 317 when it says Black Americans disproportionately contracted COVID-19 because of the many ways America's history of racial violence and inequality is baked into the institutions and structures of our society. Black Americans are more likely to work in low wage jobs and to live in segregated, crowded, polluted neighborhoods that lack adequate healthcare facilities and transportation. They are far less likely than white Americans to live near safe outdoor spaces and have access to healthful and affordable foods. Which that is a that's accurate. I feel where I even live, it there's not it's not adequate. We don't have a lot of grocery stores in a suburban area. Usually it's maybe 10 miles away or so, depending on where you are and what area you live in. And how I feel like medicine and the healthcare chapter intertwines is because in the Black communities, we had to adapt and we had to do stuff in our own communities in order to help us and in order to help our businesses and whatnot. Which that also brought up the church in these and I think it was chapter 14, the church, I believe, or no, chapter 13, excuse me, and how when they had certain meetings or stuff, they came together in their church and they had discussions. And so like for this one, like even for healthcare, which is on page 393, it says, but Black communities of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s were no more apt to accept these exclusions than their forebears. Echoing the efforts of Crumpler, Black women began a national community healthcare movement that included fundraising for Black health facilities, campaigns to educate Black communities about nutrition, sanitation, and disease prevention, and programs like National Negro Health Week that drew attention to racial health disparities. Um, and so within the Black community, we had to take it amongst ourselves to do better and make change. Sometimes I see in my neighborhood where there'll be food fundraisers, or there'll be places like there's a church down the street from me that always gives out food to into this community um, as a whole. So it's just sad. It saddens me on how even during like medicine and how they were testing on Black Americans, how they were testing on us, and I feel like they're still doing that today. And they're trying to see if we can like tolerate pain more than white Americans. I still don't understand how they got that concept. Um, it really baffles me about that. I still can't believe on what they did at the in Tuskegee and what they were doing to those men, and I felt it when I read that. It bothered me. Lily says the 600 men who were enrolled in the Tuskegee syphilis study were told they get free medical care. Instead, from 1932 to 1972, researchers watched as they developed lesions on their mouths and genitals, watched as their lymph nodes swelled, as their hair fell out, watched as the disease moved into its final stage, leaving the men blind and demented and leaving them to die. All this All this when they knew a simple penicillin shot would cure them. All this because they wanted to see what would happen. For years afterward, it still happens. And she's talking about her grandmother. Her grandmother refused to go to the hospital. And I feel like that's a lot of Black Americans, sometimes even me and a lot of my family. We do not like going to the doctor just for that simple reason. Like during COVID, there was some Black Americans who got the vaccine and people who didn't get the vaccine because of this. Particularly, they didn't trust what was being put into their bodies, and so they're not very trusting. And the whole study of Black people can have a high tolerance for pain, I felt that's complete bullshit. I had to go through that when I was giving birth to my son. I was telling them I was in pain. They did not do one thing at all. I had to pretty much take it. And that was the worst experience I had. Like with my daughter, it was perfectly fine. And then with my youngest, it was fine. But when it came to my son and I was having complications, they were not trying to help me. And they were making it even more painful for me. Even when they were checking me, how much I dilated and stuff, they were like really hurting me. Like there was one nurse where I refused to have her come back in the room because she was hurting me. And I screamed and everything. It was painful. It says, this was a tough grouping of chapters for me. Working in healthcare, I feel the impact of racism is frustrating. Yes, you work in healthcare, so I'm sure you've seen many, many things. And I know it has to be hard. It has to be hard. And I feel like even with people that are working in healthcare, they're not getting the respect they deserve either. And it just these chapters pissed me off. Like I kept annotating in it, and I was like, this pisses me off on how it seems like it seems like there was changes that were made, but it's like a revolving door, which I feel like, where is it? I had annotated it because it made a great point of, I think it was in the church, of how things may change, but they still face problems. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Let me see. Trying to find it, y'all. I apologize. I annotated everything, so it's a little bit difficult when you have everything in the book highlighted. It says, while the gospel itself does not change, he wrote, every generation is confronted with new problems, and the gospel must be brought to bear on them. So, yes, it may seem like my parents, they were born, my mom was born in 1955. And from her point of view, she felt like there is change. And then from me, it feels like there hasn't been as much progress. I feel like they give us something and then we feel happy about it and then they do something else. Just like what happened, I don't know if it was on the 4th of July or not, but I know some people probably have seen it. The video has gone viral where a Black couple was at a grocery store or whatever, and they were accused of stealing. And the police came and they were handcuffing the man, even though they didn't steal anything. They have no proof of nothing. They handcuffed him, and so his wife was recording it. She has that right to do so, right? And next thing you know, one of the police officers grabs her and drags her to the ground. And her husband was saying, please stop, my wife has cancer and everything. He's still just trying to be on top of her, and then puts his knee on her neck, which we remember what happened with George Floyd. And you see how that problem is still here. It hasn't changed at all. And I feel like at this point, I feel like we should just continue to protest. I feel like once there was justice, we stopped and we were complacent. And I feel like we need to continue on making changes. We have to continue on speaking out and using our voices. And it's crazy because in these chapters, like with the church, they mention Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and their two different approaches on things. And I honestly, I think I already told y'all this, but I'm mostly towards Malcolm X method. I know people will not agree with me. I know, I get it. There is time for peace and everything. I get it. But at the same time, when are we gonna realize that nothing is happening? Says, hello, Brandy. How'd you? Excellent to see you both. Hi, how are you? Hello, Emmett. Oh, you're fine. Full disclosure, I'm going back and forth between here and Lance Strobe's live stream right now. Oh, you're good. You're fine. Hey, just got off of work. Hey, Elises. To be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a range almost all the time. In a rage. Yes, that is a true fact. That's a true statement by James Baldwin. I completely agree with that. And like I said, I sort of agree with Malcolm X in his approach, as he says, I think any black man who teaches black people to turn the other cheek and suffer peacefully after they have been turning the other cheek and suffering peacefully for 400 years in a land of bondage under the most cruel, inhuman, and wicked slave master that any people have been under, he is doing those people an injustice and he's a traitor to his own people. And I don't feel like he's a traitor, but I feel like we should be enraged. We should be like James Baldwin. He left America. He went to what, France, I believe, and and it's a shame how we have to leave our home in order to get some type of peace, some type of disrespect, some type of equality that we're not getting in the U.S. Which they made it plain and clear, especially in chapter 15 about healthcare. And it's like it says, many forces have prevented the United States from achieving universal health care, including a failure to properly regulate the trillion-dollar healthcare industry and a near total unwillingness to grapple with the ethics of for-profit medicine. And it says people of color continue to suffer most from the failure to resolve these arguments. Black and Latino Americans still have the highest uninsured rates in the country and still shoulder a disproportionate share of the nation's poor health care outcomes. And that is sad. That's completely sad. And it was another fact that I highlighted. Let's see. Yeah, it says the United States is the only high-income nation that does not guarantee some form of health care to all of its citizens. Medicine here is a commodity, and access to it depends on a suite of factors, including age, income level, employment status, geographic regions, and to an alarming and undeniable extent, race. It says African and Latino Americans have the highest uninsured rates in the country and as a result shoulder a disproportionate burden of the health system's failings. They are more likely to die during pregnancy or from cancers that are treatable when caught early and more likely to suffer the worst outcomes associated with the chronic medical conditions like diabetes. And we always, sometimes we always talk about voting and stuff on this channel, and I get it. And as I'm reading this, you see a Democrat, which was in the 1860s or whatever. And I know back then they had switched from Republican to Democrat or whatever. I feel like they're one and the same, in my opinion. Like they do have different beliefs, they do have different whatever morals, but I keep saying they all work together. They all have their own motives. And like on page 391, a guy from Ohio, he was an Ohio Democratic Congressman, Samuel Cox, which he said in 1865, mind you, it says, no charitable black scheme can wash out the color of the Negro, change his inferior nature, or save him from his inevitable fate. It's like we can't win regardless of what laws may have been written or whatever, because there's always somebody that will come back and rewrite them and make sure that we don't benefit from it. And it bothers me. Hey, Lucy. Hey, Papa. A bunch of people went and protested in the side of the store. Yes. Yes. They did. And I feel like we need to still keep protesting because still change needs to be done. Lucy's, Jira. Honestly, the way I feel about protesting is a person is talking to someone who is deaf. Someone says, hey, that person is deaf. The person talking to them then says, oh, then starts yelling. Yeah. There needs to be some type of solution because it's still happening. It's too much. And it makes you scared. It makes you have anxiety. And it gives me anxiety just thinking about it. It's just a lot. And then I like how it had like intertwined with music, and it mentioned people, performing in blackface and making fun of us and stuff and all that. And it's just a lot. And I even wrote in what section, I was like, they love our music, but they hate us. And I feel like that's true. They love our music, but they hate us. they love our culture or whatever, but they hate us at the same time. Um, and it's like, man, can we ever win? Can we ever get a break? Is what I want to know. There is no fixing the system because it is not broken. It's like mice coming and telling me I need to fix the situation with all these traps around the house that are killing them. Ugh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It is designed that way. Yes. And that is the reason why it needs to be changed. It needs to be fully redone and restructured. Like just having Jefferson and stuff on our money, I feel like that's just a slap in the face to us and to other people, and how he felt about Black Americans, or back then we weren't even considered American. But I just felt like things need to be done. We're following a Declaration of Independence and stuff that was written by enslavers. I feel like that's a huge problem. We still have these people as the face of America, and I find that just disgusting. It works exactly how it was designed to work. Yep, and like I said, it needs to be redesigned. The whole thing needs to be either burned down and restructured in order to make things as they need to be. Processing help on a minor level impact people's pockets. Now we can make dramatic change. Yes, but the thing is, people are scared because of fear, which is another reason why they created the system. They want us to work paycheck to paycheck, and the thing to impact them is, like you said, their pockets, not showing up to work on Monday. Like just imagine like 3 million people or whatever didn't show up for work on Monday. That would be like cause a lot of problems. But that wouldn't happen because people are in fear of being scared of not paying their bills, on not having food on the table. I mean, if we want to make impact, that would probably be the biggest thing we could possibly do. Is like nobody, as I mean, like a lot of people did not show up on work. To work on Monday or any other day, because you won't be getting any packages. You wouldn't be getting, nobody would get any mail. There would be no planes would be flying. There would be no flight attendants. There would be no pilots. There'd be no nothing. Just the whole country is just like stopped. Nobody is working. And I saw that on IG, and I was like, he made a great point. We live in fear, and they make us fear of like not being able to have food on the table and not being able to pay the bills. That's why we work paycheck to paycheck. So it's a whole system that has to be redone. Yes. Hey, Bree. Yep. The fact of the matter is that they are running scared. They are fearful that the people they've oppressed for so long will come for them with the oppression. When the oppression stops. Yes, that is true. That is completely true. They do things to make sure that they are protected 100%. One of my favorite quotes is from the church chapter that the ministers declared that America is our beloved homeland, but America is not God. This is exactly how I feel. I love my homeland. But, right. I agree with that, Elise's. And it's shameful. It's how this country is how it is. But I would love to see some type of change. No, I'm not giving our money away, purchasing, not working, just like the bus boycott. Yeah, yeah, I agree. It'll just take a whole lot of us, and that's another thing. We have to come together as a people. And when we disagree, it's just like we separate. And sometimes I feel like it also, I don't know, there's a lot of trauma as well that a lot like the Black community has been going through. And I feel like with that alone, it's just like we have to come together and try to overcome what our ancestors went through and try to make them proud. It's just, how can we do that? How can we come together? And I don't know, I'm trying to be very hopeful. It's just, it seems impossible sometimes. And I don't know, for some reason, when I saw Cornel West and he had announced his presidency, I was like, wow, this is a person that thinks outside the box. He thinks differently from a Democrat and a Republican. He just has an open mind of things, on how things should work, on how things should be restructured. And I felt like we need that breath of fresh air, instead of having everything to be dominated either from a Democrat or Republican, as it has always been for years. And I feel like maybe it's time for a change. And maybe once that change happens, maybe other change will come along. Hopefully, I'm not sure. Let's see. YouTube is blocking my comment. They don't recognize my ranch. Oh, wow. YouTube messing up. The entire structure, absolutely everything is built on suppression, placing your foot on someone's neck at all times, telling them to jump, and someone else saying how high all the time. Yes, I agree. It's even black hate crime, stupid YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is just being a hater. Exactly. That is why they're putting their dirty money into controlling who runs for office, who gets elected, and what laws get passed. Right. Somebody, the person that's elected or whatever, they're like puppets. There's always the main person ahead, like above them. And that's why you have a lot of people who put their money towards that person because they know for sure that they're going to win because that person knows somebody and that somebody knows the head person who is telling this person this is what you need to pass and this is what you need to sign. There's that one person that's always the head. Third time's a charm. Yeah. Wiping out student loan debt would be an excellent start to freeing a lot of people. I would love to see it. I would love to see that. I would love to see free healthcare as well. I would love to see free education. And I feel like that is not happening. And it's crazy how like everything else is forgiven, but student loan debt isn't forgiven. So it's like even when if my daughter, like any of my kids, if they wanted to go to college or whatever, they can still do that. And I would definitely be open to them applying to overseas colleges as well. Or if they don't want to go to college at all, I would be fine with that as long as they have a job and something. They need to be productive with their lives. Or if they want to have their own business, I'd be gladly to be able to help them and support them in any way. Sometimes I feel like I wish I was taught that way, but when I was in high school, it was always about you got to go to college, and you got to get a good job, and that's not always the case. So I don't know. There is just what did y'all think about these chapters? Like I like the thing that also got me boiling was the blackface performers and what they were doing. Now that pissed me off. But then I also liked how it was pointed out of all the greats. It says from that point forward, art that emerged in poverty from want and despair, art forged in immoral quarantine would take its place at the center of everything. Art created by visionaries, innovators, and synthesis who had previously existed on the margins of American wealth and power will become the sun around which the culture orbited. And it mentions all the greats like Aretha Franklin, Charlie Fox, Nina Simone. It mentions so many people. Buddy Guy, Lionel Richie. It goes the Biggie, Tupac, Lauryn Hill, Snoop Dogg, Kanye West is in here. You have In Vogue. You have so many people in here. And I appreciated that. It says African Americans make up 13% of the population, yet account for an incalculable amount of what moves us and how we move. It says Black choreography often starts the dance craze that sweeps TikTok's 100 million plus active American users, which I found that's amazing. But then again, it says, and that's in part because white people won't stop putting it there. So they still are controlling the industry in some way. And they still put us in a box, which it says that clear as day in here as well. They still place us in the box of rappers and all that other stuff where we can do more than just that. Hence why they mentioned jazz and all that. So let's see. Reads, proving my point on that suppression. And that's probably why they won't do it. There is more than enough money to help the homeless and families. Why is it going to Ukraine? Why is there so much to send there? Yeah, and then there is another part where they have sent money, but it's not accounted for or something like that. So I honestly don't know. They say that we all have money, but our money is sent on other things in other places. So who knows? But I heard that I think it was Saudi Arabia who was stopping their production of oil, which would hurt us because that's where we get most of our oil from what I remember. And they're in an uproar about that. We depend so much on different countries. Hence why we give so much money to them, is because we need them in return in order to keep this country running smoothly like they want to. Hence why a lot of our businesses here or whatever, they moved, or our industries or whatever moved to different countries because it was cheap labor. But still they get paid millions and millions of money, you know? So they're doing what they do, and they're making sure they have money in their pockets, but they don't care about people that are homeless and have no food. They don't care. I finished 1619. It's such an impactful book. Will stick with me forever. Yeah. We have a few more chapters left, and then we will be done once we get to the final chapters. I think another bold move would be wiping the interest if they continue to block the student debt. I just don't see how Orange was able to pass the tax cut without it being blocked. Right. Interest is the killer. Let me tell you. It's a lot, and that would be a nice thing too. Wiping the interest. That would be nice. Because I'm like, why am I constantly getting interest? I'm not even in school anymore. And so it makes it impossible for some people to pay off their student debt. It's impossible. I meant that rhetorically. I know why. I feel like 1619 reinforces things I already knew to be true, whether from reading / learning or personally experiencing it. Yes, it reinforces what we've known, especially these these few chapters that we read for this section. It was pretty much some type of having you remember about what is happening and what is still currently happening today, and how they're, even with healthcare and what they're doing, and how churches are still being attacked because those are still places for us where we come together. That's always been a place for us to worship. That's always been a place for us to talk and have meetings about what we want to do in our own communities, what we want to do to uplift our community. And it's funny because they did mention Obama in this book, and in the church section. And it made me think, I'm like, yeah, he had his own little motive. I mean, he still wanted to have a career. So he said what he said. And I think that still happens today. Let me see if I can find it, because they mentioned him. Because it was one of the pastors. It says, when it came to treating her citizens of African descent fairly, America failed. She put them in chains. The government put them in slave quarters, but then on auction blocks, put them in cotton fields, put them in inferior schools, put them in substandard housing, put them in scientific experiments, put them in the lowest paying jobs, put them outside the equal protection of the law, kept them out of their racist bastions of higher education, and locked them into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, which is another thing, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, not God Bless America, Goddamn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. Goddamn America for treating her citizens as less than human. Goddamn America as long as she keeps trying to act like she is God and she is supreme. And then I guess apparently this was Obama's pastor shouting this. And I guess for him just to cover his career, he wanted to say Obama's response seemed to be designed to save his political career by presenting himself as a measured, reasoned man who loved America and did not believe that all white people were racist. His speech was widely praised and it succeeded in its aims. 3 months later, he won the Democratic nomination, and that November, the presidency. But it also revealed a painful truth. At the moment that the nation was preparing to elect its first Black leader, it says, the role the Black church had played in bringing about that possibility had to be disavowed. The prophetic power of the church had given Obama his soaring speeches and fervor for change, but it was anathema to the political arena of accommodation, especially during an election cycle. So that was brought up too. So I had to highlight that as well because I'm like, that's interesting. Let's see. Yes. I rewatched Obama's eulogy for Reverend Pinckney. I remember seeing him singing Amazing Grace and feeling so much pride. This time I cried when I watched it. There has been so much hatred and pain since. Yes. Yes. which is why I don't understand how some people think that we don't rely on other countries when we rely so much on imports, and other countries can really impact the lives of Americans. Yes, I mean, China could really tell us, like, no, we're not going to send y'all stuff anymore. Which, we didn't have any type of, it seemed like they took away our power of, like, saying, hey, keep these jobs here. They changed, they sent them overseas. And so it's just weird, but who knows what agreements were made and what contracts were made. But I feel like China is really having just are at their breaking point, to the point where I feel like another war possibly would come into play. I mean, we saw the Chinese minister, he went to Russia to talk to Putin, and who knows what agreement they made, and who know, like, I feel like if America does something else with China, like, that's shady, I feel like China would side with Russia, and then we would be in big trouble. We should have restored relationship with other countries after the Idiot Orange. Yep, but it made it completely worse. We should have restored relationship with other countries after the Orange. Okay, I'm done. Back to cleaning. Okay, gotcha. The N95 shortage should have taught the USA how dangerous it is to rely on foreign imports. America is like a child with a hard head and a soft ass. Shake my head. Yes, right there. Facts, right. But they did that because they don't want to pay the people, us Americans, right? Because they're thinking about their own pockets, they're thinking about their money, and just to make sure they're good. They don't care about us. I just feel like it's propaganda. It's for them to win votes. It's not necessarily for us, but they want some type of it's a popularity contest at this point, in my opinion. I know some people will think differently, and that's perfectly fine. But in my opinion, it's all about popularity, all about winning votes at this point. Sometimes I feel like it's not really genuine. They'll say whatever to say for them to win an election. You can't trust politicians. Politicians, like, they like to play chess, and as the people of America, we are their chess pieces, and they experiment on us and do whatever. Like, okay, let's start with this community or whatever. Let's see how they do. Like, we're like we're like literally their chess pieces, and they're telling us where we need to go, and that's how our lives are. And how they want our lives to be. They want our lives to be so unstable. They don't want us to see us to be happy, it seems like. They just want us to keep working for them and their corporations or whoever, and just live to work. And that's it. But how do y'all feel about these chapters? What did you get out of it, from it all? I feel like we need to do something, or we need to say peace out to America and find somewhere else where we are appreciated. But I know there are also some people in the Black community who feel like, no, my ancestors were brought here. This is my home. And I get that too. I truly do. So, but I also have ancestors who were from the South who migrated to live here up north, like in Ohio, particularly, from Georgia. So just to get away from everything and from lynchings that they've seen and the land that was taken from them, which we have recently gotten back. It's been some years now, but we recently got some land back in Moultrie, Georgia, is where my dad's side lives. It's like a constant fight, and I feel like some of us are tired. They're tired of fighting. It's like, I want to live. I feel like I'm constantly getting beat up every day of the week, and I don't see any type of relief or any type of hope left. I think some people really have lost that faith and hope, and I hate seeing it. And honestly, I feel like maybe it is time for us to leave. Maybe that is the solution. I was just talking to my husband, and I was like, hey, where would you like to go? And at first I was like, maybe Japan. I don't know why, but after my husband's friend, who pretty much is his brother, who was family, he went to Japan and he had a ball, and they loved him there, and he has such a great time. The food is 10 times better. They're not trying to kill you. So it's just like, we're dealing with, it's just interesting. Like, we can't get free healthcare, and when we go to the hospital, they treat us like shit, And then like the food that they give us in the grocery stores are not even healthy for us. Technically, all the food that's in the stores are contaminated. Like all jokes aside, because they're touched by something, constantly touching something. From what I've read recently, I watched a documentary, and this is a current new documentary that they saying that all the food that's in the grocery store is contaminated, and this is what they give us. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They are, but I'm not trying to be preachy or whatever. It's just I would love to see some type of change happen. I can't stand it. Even the last paragraph says people of color continue to suffer most from the failure to resolve these arguments. It says Black and Latino Americans still have the highest uninsured rates in the country and still shoulder a disproportionate share of the nation's poor health outcomes. But they are not alone. After all the debates and elections and bills and lawsuits, millions of Americans of every race, ethnicity, and political persuasion still don't have health care of any kind, and millions more are still forced to ration crucial medications or to forego critical procedures or to choose in some other way between receiving health care and meeting other essential needs. In the end, everyone is harmed. Yep. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, it seems like the rich people and the politicians or whatever, which are part of the rich people, they just want to win. They don't want to see none of us win. They make sure they don't see us win. Like they make sure to put us in a box when it comes to our music. They love our music, but they'll put us in a box for it. They'll put us in a box for everything. I feel like another thing that should be changed is like for applications or whatever. Why do you need to know what race I am? Like, why can't you just hire me as a human being? Why should a company have to reach a certain quota of diversity and stuff? Even though, I mean, look what they just did with affirmative action. Like, there's always a box that we need to check off. And usually when you check off you're Black American, that signals like, oh, we need to give them less money. Or no, they don't get this loan. It's just automatic. And it's exhausting. So every time you say you're funny. I just keep thinking that we have to come together, but so many people are on their own ish. Things are so splintered, right? People have their own agendas, they have their own motives, and we are not together. We're not. I'm exhausted, tired of fighting. It's difficult when we have pettiness amongst our own people. How can we win when we are fighting each other? We stay blocking our blessings on some ego mess, right? And like you see these TV shows, I'm like, come on, why? Just why? And like they did shows in blackface and made us look like we were just terrible human beings, and they were laughing at that shit. Like, come on, let's do something. Let's show to them that we are not what the society has portrayed us to be. But I'm exhausted too, and I'm tired. I'm only 30, and just from reading majority of this book, I'm like, can we do something? In my head, I'm like, I wonder how many people in the U.S. has read the 1619 Project. I really don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. It says people either don't want to see the injustice or don't care to see it because they haven't experienced it in such a way that it is real. True. Some people are blinded by it. They don't even see it. Sometimes I feel like my own parents, they can be blinded by certain stuff, and they have their blinders on certain things, but then they don't on other things. They like to pick and choose. So, and it's interesting. It's interesting. Says you're right. I'm too tired. I'm tired too. Everything Jira said. Let's stand unity with boycotting Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A. I see that's the thing. It has to be like a nationwide thing. Nationwide. Crabs in a bottle. Other races stick together and help each other. How can you have a village when you're not acceptive of the difference between us? Not every villager is going to make you happy. True. That's really true, Hira. I get that. It's just like, how much longer can we stand this, y'all? How much longer? The civil rights movement was in my lifetime. Segregated bathrooms and diners, etc., are in my lifetime. Sundown towns still exist. I hate anyone telling me that was a long time ago. Oh, it wasn't. That was not a long time ago. In my head, that's recent. Like, that's not a long time ago at all. That kills me too when people say that was a long time ago. That it baffles me when people say that. I've been boycotting Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A. I haven't been Hobby Lobby years. And Chick-fil-A, it's been a while. I will say it's been a while. But I feel like there needs to be some type of movement. There needs to be movement on a lot of things, and a lot of things as far as healthcare, student loan forgiveness, for us to have equality. And I feel like first we all need to come together. And I don't know, like we've been saying in the sprints, we need someone that will bring us together and let us see this big picture that we are missing out on and what we need to do to help our community. Because once we come together, we are strong. We are stronger than ever. And they do not like that. They do not like us being strong and stuff and fighting for our rights. They hate it. It makes them nervous. It makes them nervous. And when they're nervous, that's when they do stupid shit. And that's when they show their true colors. So I'm down for whatever, y'all. I'm down. I'm sure I haven't gotten to Hobby Lobby since they refused to cover birth control. Get out my bedroom. Same, but that's a great example of just two companies. People of color won't boycott because of convenience of likes. Yep, true. But yes, I think that is it. We covered mostly about healthcare and stuff. Like a lot of this, and it's all interwoven and together. I'm still boycotting Domino's. I don't even remember last time I had Domino's. It's been a minute. But yeah, we will be, the next time we talk, we'll be finishing up the book. We'll only have 3 chapters left. So we'll be reading chapter 16 to chapter 18. And then we can officially say we have read the entire book, The 1619 Project, and pretty much dissect everything. Like I have it tabbed up and everything. So yeah. It's just funny. It says, as a result, white communities were prioritized and Black Americans in the Royal South were left in the worst of circumstances, living in the least resource part of the country and deliberately excluded from the exact program meant to fix that problem. Let's see. Where was I? I'm still boycotting Shell gas station. And the reason our people behave like crabs in a bucket is because the natural state of a crab is not a bucket. I see crabs every day and they are chill in their natural environment. I don't remember why, but F Domino's. Yeah, why? What happened with Domino's? Somebody let me know. Gunshots at my neighborhood only. Oh yeah, I hear them every day. Put them in an unnatural situation and they behave differently. My question is never to ask the crabs why they behave as they do. It is to ask why put you in a bucket. Oh shit. Be safe out there, Bree. Also, be careful. I just got home. Hi everyone. Hey Adrian. Get down. Oh no, stay safe. All right, be safe. Shell gas, they supported apartheid. Oh, see, that is something I did not know. They still do that? Are they? Because I know, like, The one that's near me, it's franchised, and it's franchised by a black family. So I'm not sure, but I did not know that they support apartheid. That's knowledge to me. I did not know. Domino's has something to do with Trump and healthcare. What? Jeez. So did Citibank. Oh, I don't mess with Citibank. Yeah, we need to make a list of things that needs to be boycotted in the U.S. so that everybody know. Because I did not know about Citibank. I didn't know about Domino's, and I didn't know about Shell gas station. I did not know about that. We need to definitely make a list and just post it all over social media. But if y'all have any thoughts, let me know in the chat. It just really made me upset. You know, of course, there's nothing like, this is some hard information to take in. It's nothing happy about it. It's just sad on how even currently today in 2023, we still going with, there's still a lot of shit that's happening, and it all needs to be fixed. I don't know if they still do, but just in case. Gotcha. All right, but I think that is it. Like I said, the next discussion we'll be having, which I do have it up if I'm not mistaken. It's the next discussion where we're happening with discussing for 1619. I can't talk right now. It's going to be on the 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to be finishing and concluding this read along. So we'll be reading chapters 16 to chapters 18. So we're reading chapter 16, which is traffic, chapter 17, which is progress, and chapter 18, which is justice. Let's see. Okay, Adrian, Brandy, 63. Make sure she. Yes, I need to do that. Thank you. Hey, Adrian. Sorry, forgot to say hi. Okay, I finished the book. Oh, okay, you finished? Oh, so you're done. Yeah, I still have the last 3 chapters left, and then we'll be officially done with that, and I can officially say that I finished the 1619 project. But that is it for tonight. I was thinking about doing some sprints later, but we shall see. Keandre hurt his ankle, so we have to go get him some ice and some Tiger Balm. He hasn't been able to walk for the past 2 days now, so he's literally sitting on the couch with his ankle and a bucket of ice right now. Well, a bucket of water now. All the ice is melted. But yeah, so I'm not going to have any sprints tonight, but Bree and I are going to be discussing Dora tomorrow, which is Moses, Man of the Mountain. So we're going to have our discussion tomorrow. So definitely, if you read it, definitely tune in. If you haven't, just go ahead and read it tonight if you want to, so we can discuss this book. Let's say this year I had to do a container garden because of my hip and back. Next year I'm going to do a full garden. I'm looking into solar panels. I'm going off the grid, but with cable. Gotcha. I would love solar panels. And my cousins, they just made their own. They have their own garden now. So they get all their fruit, like the fruit and vegetables from their garden. They no longer go to the store and get it. Oh no, feel better, Keandre. Oh, he has his beats in his ear, so he can't even hear me. One of the difficulties with boycott is that there is so much overlap. For example, you can boycott KFC, but Taco Bell is KFC, Pizza Hut is KFC, etc. They're all owned by different groups. That's true. Feel better. Hey, Keandre. He can't hear me. I'll tell him though that y'all said help he feels better. You have to do a tree to find the connections and boycott all of those too. Yes. So maybe that should be a nice little task we can do on the side whenever we all have time. Just think of some companies or whatever that we know that needs to be boycotted and start from there and connect the dots. Since, like you said, there's a tree So they all have connections. They connect with each other. So one of my wife's favorite writers. Who was one of your wife's favorite writers? But like I said, I think that's it for tonight, y'all. These chapters were hard to read, and I feel like these last few chapters will be even harder. But I'm glad that I'm taking in all this information and annotating as I go, because in the future I might reread it, and I also would like to keep this book forever just so that my kids will have it and they'll have access to it. They'll see what I have written in it. And when they are able to read this type of material, they can put in, they can write whatever they want in this book as well. Thank you. You're welcome. In a couple of years, I hope to get all of my veggies from my garden. I'll start canning, but it's going to take time to get where I want to be. Gotcha. And that's perfectly fine. It takes time. And that, it's fine. It's fine. But thank you all for coming. I hope you all have a great night. I will catch y'all tomorrow if you're joining Bree and I for our discussion. Take care of yourself, Keandre. I'll tell him he's on his phone. Zora. Oh, Zora. Okay, gotcha. Sorry. But yeah, it's funny how I mentioned Zora in one of these chapters, or one or two of these chapters too. So that was interesting as well. But thank you all once again for coming. I'll catch y'all later. Have a great day. Have a great evening wherever you are, and stay healthy and stay safe, everyone. I'll catch y'all next time. Bye, everyone. See ya.